We wish you a Merry Christmas. We wish.
Nuovo ordine mondiale. Nuovo ordine mondiale.
That is woven into the fabric of this Christmas season, and yet it remains mysterious until, perhaps, now. The story of the three kings who came bearing gifts to worship the infant Jesus, the Magi, and it's straight from the Gospel of Matthew. Wise men came from the east, the verse reads, but who were the Magi? Incredibly, a new discovery has offered new insight into that question. And the revelation of the Magi, tonight's Faith Matters. It is one of the most mysterious and meaningful journeys in all the world. Hard journey across fierce deserts and forbidding mountains, a journey that is told and retold every year at Christmas time. The journey of the Magi. In every nativity scene for nearly 2,000 years, there they are, the three wise men from the east. Bearing their gifts. Who were they? In the Holy Land where we traveled last week, they are still wondering.
They represent blessing, maybe unexpected blessing.
Paul Wright is the president of the Jerusalem University College, and like so many biblical scholars, he sees in the journey of the Magi deep, resonant meaning.
There's something something here. There's something about coming from the east into this land of Canaan, of Israel, the area of Jerusalem, that brings people home to the places. Somehow they were coming to a place that they belonged.
The story of the Magi is poetically brief, just 12 verses in the Gospel according to Matthew, that's all. But now a rediscovery of an ancient text has sparked new debate. It's called the Revelation of the Magi, and amazingly, it purports to be the account of that wondrous journey by the Magi themselves.
It ends up being the most complex, the richest, most strange, one of the strangest story about the wise men to come out of Christian antiquity. And until now, it had never been translated into English.
Landau translated the work, which has just been published. He's a scholar of ancient biblical languages and teaches at the University of Oklahoma. So this is, on its surface, their own story.
It's an incredibly grand story. So who the Magi are in this text is they are descendants of Adam and Eve's third son, Seth. They live in this far eastern land. The text calls the land Shir, and from other ancient texts, it seems like the place it had in mind is the land of China. Magi are practicing their rituals year after year, enacting expectation of the star's coming, and eventually the star comes.
The star comes, and it leads them, of course, to Bethlehem. And so that's where we went. To the city of David, modern, noisy, chock-a-block with eye-popping displays of nativity crafts, trinkets, and mementos. But in the middle of it stands, in massive serenity, the Church of the Nativity, built where tradition holds that Jesus Christ was born. Down through the centuries, countless pilgrims have come this way, to the place where, in the belief of all Christians, God himself entered human history. And the hustle and bustle of modern Bethlehem, it's hard to get a feel for that until you bow your head and go through this ancient door. To this day, from all over the world, they come. They come so many because they believe. They have followed what they believe to be the light, just like the Magi in Matthew's Gospel. biblical times, travelers from the east would have come up to Bethlehem over these dry desert hills. And even today, 2,000 years later, it's easy to imagine them, the caravans coming up over the ridge lines on that long, hard journey, which would have taken months or even years. So let's talk about the East. At the time of the birth of Jesus, who would have crossed this day? Was there anybody who would have come from the East, as the Gospel of Matthew says the wise men and Magi did?
Yes, there are roads which lead up to Bethlehem, especially from the south east.
Helping us map this ancient route, Shimon Gibson, a biblical archaeologist and author of several books, including The Final Days of Jesus, the archaeological evidence.
Indeed, there is one road which goes all the way to China, and it's called the Spice Route. And this is where we are at the moment. We're next to one of those sort of roads which came up from the desert. And so it would have been a common sight, I think, at the time of Jesus, to see tradesmen coming along with their caravans, with their wagons.
So you can see in this landscape what the Gospel of Matthew depicts, a caravan of men from the East, maybe even on camels.
But there's a sense there, whether or not we can prove that those specific wise men came to Bethlehem, it's an impossibility. But there's a tradition there which is linked into a certain reality.
Scholars debate the historical reality of the Magi story, but the meaning of their miraculous journey has been a part of Christian worship from the very beginning.
This is the kind of a story that is evocative enough, mysterious enough.
Here we go again.
Magical enough, if you will, and historical enough to ground down into, to be rooted in, to see ourselves in. Either as giver or recipient, for instance. And at the same time, to want to make the story our own.
That's exactly what an unknown writer did more than 1,700 years ago in The Revelation of the Magi. It's a very ancient text.
It's extremely old. Yes, absolutely.
Landau translated the Revelation of the Magi from the only known copy of it, written in Syriac, kept in the Vatican library. It's a very different story from the traditional one. The star is the most startling and mystical difference.
The star its light concentrates and reveals the small, luminous human being.
The star becomes
A star child, if you will.
and it's God.
a star child, if you will.
And it's God. And it's God.
It's Christ. As excited as they are, though, Christ tells them, this is one of many occasions on which I have appeared to the peoples of the world. So this text maybe even is saying that there are no non-Christian religions because Christ is the revelation behind everything.
In every faith there is Christ.
Yes.
That's what the revelation of the Magi is saying.
That's what I think it's saying.
A controversial message, but also one filled with awe and wonder.
In the past, man's biggest and dangerous game was headhunting. Likewise, old Nagas were headhunters at heart. The warriors advanced to the neighboring forest to encounter. The newly crowned headhunters are tattooed by the queens. Sharp needles are made from bamboo.
This 23-year-old man is reading his will. His name is Tarak Hamid. He is a suicide bomber.
To discover the bodies and called 911. 21 women and 18 men had taken their own lives.
Must have been a lot to take in.
The emotions written on so many faces in the Church of the Nativity in Bethlehem, the Magi's destination. Every day they come to this road, to the back of the church, and step down into a tiny grotto. This is the end of the journey. By an ancient tradition, this star down here marks the spot. What was it like, that transforming moment for so much of the world, that birth at the hinge of history?
If you, 2,000 years ago, were arriving in Bethlehem and somebody said, we're going to give you the stable to sleep in, this is not, they're not trying to sort of be rude to you. They're actually being nice because it's the warmest woman in the house.
It's fascinating. So, from a standpoint of biblical archaeology, the nativity story makes sense. You can see it. You can visualize it.
Yes. If we look at the archaeological and historical data that we have, the story as presented in the Gospels makes sense.
Fireworks on the night the Christmas lights went on in Manger Square in Bethlehem, a different kind of celebration of the season. But for so many around the world, the significance of Bethlehem is the same and abides, echoing everywhere in that familiar carol. The hopes and fears of all the years